Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode and very important. We have our world famous speakers, Professor David J. Kelly, Professor David Smith, and Mr. Marshall. We will discuss on augmented reality. And I want to start from Mr. Marshall, how you want to analyze today's topic, augmented reality, and how we can integrate this process to the education system.
Okay, well, normally I don't start out, but here we go. First of all, augmented reality is a technology that it's interactive experience of a real world environment. It's not virtual reality, it's augmented on what's happening in the real world. And objects reside in the real world are enhanced by computer generated perceptual information. And it's across multiple sensory modalities. One of the ones that I find interesting to talk about is olfactory, in other words, smell. But I've actually participated in a AR system that also has olfactory ability. Obviously, auditory, visual, haptic, and some sensory technology is really all part of that method. It's immersive, meaning that you're involved in it and you're in it, and it makes a great technology for two items for what we're doing. It's great for training people remotely, and it's also, especially during a time of pandemic when you don't necessarily want people hanging around together for a period of time, unless they're vaccinated, obviously. But the other thing that's really great about it is that it actually allows for monitoring of systems in the real world. So to give you an example, our systems convert both organic and inorganic waste streams into environmental products that reduce environmental impacts. We're not creating shoes or dresses or things like that. We're creating outputs that actually reduce soil, improve soil health, reduce GHG emissions, and improve water, for example. There's other things we do as well in the environment. And it's all about climate resilience and climate restoration and climate repair. But in order to do that, when you use this type of technology, you can actually monitor. Being quantitative in nature is really critical. So this technology helps us to quantify what's going on in the real world. It allows us to put other technologies along with that and have a real world capability to check on what's happening, as well as monitoring the ability to train people properly. Because when you're handling waste, there can be upside and downside to it. The upside is obviously turning waste into something productive, but the downside is that waste has issues with it. It has pathogens. Sometimes it has toxins in it that need to be monitored. So all this is important, and that's my start off of today, and I hand off to the next person.
You're muted.
We have our new friend, Mr. Edwards. So before that, I will give you a chance. Before that, I have to give chance Professor David Kelly, then Professor David Smith. Thank you, Mr. Edward, for joining World Talent Economy Forum. Professor David J. Kelly, we are very much excited because in January, we want to organize a debate in between human and AI. Before that, definitely the CEO, like Professor David Smith and Mr. Marshalls and you and those who join, we want to arrange a show debate. All of the CEO from different company, they will attend in the debate. You people will be debaters. We will organize the debate, and another debate we want to organize AI and human. Already we are excited from Malaysia International Islamic University. They really want to support this initiative. They want to produce send their best debater to attend a debate against your AI. So hopefully it will be very interesting. But we want to discuss on augmented reality. So what is your input you want to add for today's discussion?
Well, I think from my perspective, augmented reality is one of the technologies that'll fundamentally change humanity. I know when I was originally doing work with Microsoft on HoloLens, one of the revolutionary sort of ways of visualizing the future application of the technology would be that because HoloLens is a full-blown Windows 10 machine, even though it looks like just a pair of goggles. But I could be sitting in Starbucks and have these virtual monitors floating above the table that I'm programming on a virtual keyboard, reading email and doing different things. And while people walk into my vision, little bubbles could pop above their heads, showing me their social media rankings and that sort of thing. When I look over at the counter, there might be today's different virtual advertisements showing up in up on the wall or something. And I mean, there's just so many ways that it can affect society. And I think, we're still probably 2 iterations of the technology before it is really mass marketable. But it's just like artificial intelligence or AI or, cybernetics or nanotechnology. It's one of these technologies that just will take society. It'll become something just radically different from what we are now.
Thank you. Professor David Smith, you have an excellent corporations. You also have augmented reality and different modern technologies. So what do you think? What will happen next few years, especially after the COVID? We can understand that our education systems and many systems will be changed. So how actually augmented reality can help for different communication level?
Well, it's going to be one of the most profound changes, as David has really talked about. And it's only going to get larger as you see more AR-ready smartphone and other devices come online, and other lenses and things. So AR really lets us see real life environment right in front of us. So it could be trees in a park. It could be a piece of equipment against a wall. It might be a human body that we're operating on, that we're augmenting what we're doing with augmented reality. So it has some very widespread use. As you look at what Meta, aka Facebook, did as they announced their name change, and Sharif, I gave you a link of it over in the chat. The biggest thing they talk about on their new branding page is augmented reality, virtual reality, the metaverse, and AR and VR go hand in hand with the metaverse, and really are things that you have to do together there. The other thing I would like to say real quickly at this point is if I look at the market trends on it, the market trends are just amazing. The augmented reality market by itself in 2020 was a $1.98 billion marketplace. And between now and 2026, it is projected to have a compound annual growth rate of 152%. 152%, where most compound average growth rates you see in the single digits or the double digits, usually in the low side. And what's interesting about that large of a growth rate, AR is still at least a decade away from achieving its market potential. And so it's going to do nothing but grow. And it really has a lot of place to grow with it. We expect to see really the next generation of smartphones, and you're seeing that with the new Apple 13s, where they are equipped with AR support hardware. You're seeing graphic processing units in it. You're seeing digital signal processes in it. You're now seeing designs coming out in tests with neural chips in it. And you're seeing dedicated augmented reality support in the new operating systems coming out. And you're seeing it very much in that market. Also in the automotive industry, you're seeing a lot of that with companies beginning to put heads-up displays into cars. Like BMW and Mercedes and others are really looking at putting more and more augmented reality features into cars. And COVID really has helped accelerate this push into augmented reality in a fairly large scale. Um, and as I've said before, as we've talked about this, I'm seeing it being done in many, many places. I'm seeing commercial companies partnering with government agencies to use augmented reality, for example, to speed up the permitting process, where an inspector can go into a facility, wear augmented reality glasses, and see where equipment's going, to see where connections are going, and do approvals almost in real time that typically take weeks to get done. And in some of the facilities being built around me in Austin, here in the United States, with like some of Elon Musk's facilities and things, that technology is being used to speed up the construction process, to speed up the permitting process, and to reduce the errors that you see in normal construction. So I think that's kind of an introduction there, Sharif. It looks to me like Sharif might be frozen. Edgar, you want to go next with what you have to say?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, because it looks
Yes,
like
okay.
Sharif
Yes, so my name
fell
is
out.
Edward. The reason why I was hesitating is that I was on a slightly different topic, which is health. And the goal is to present something that is rather simple to understand, but that I think needs to be done, which is to combine open data about mortality worldwide and to superimpose it with risk factors such as pollution, access to healthcare, wealth, in order to find out things that should be improved for a better world. So this is something I started a few years ago, and recently, after quite thinking, I have decided to make it big. So maybe I can share my screen. Yes, I guess so.
Sure.
Share my screen. No, okay. Up. So this was in 2015, and I saw that I was not the only one to do such things because it's very basic. I was part
Eduardo,
of
we
a hack.
can't see your screen yet, though.
Can you see the screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. So I can still describe. I was part of a hackathon against. It was called Open Data
There
Against
we go.
Cancer. So the hackathon is known in France as Epidemium. It has a high people in the jury who are well known in epidemiology, and with a team of more than 100 people at that time, we decided to split the work in studying, in collecting data about cancer risks around the world, and whatever factor, sun, smoking, or whatever, and to try to make the link. This was a big project during 6 months, and we achieved to observe that we could find that long-term unemployment, of course, is bad. It increases the risk or things like that. So known aspects. A few less known ones, for example, in the USA, where statistics are split by race for cancer. It happens that there is one population, which are the persons from Africa, so the African Americans, they have more here prostate cancer. It's other populations for other cancers. There are various subtleties, and this can be seen on a worldwide basis with people in Africa having more prostate cancer, etc. This showed that in 2015 that the approach works to superimpose mortality with risk factors. However, very rapidly we found out that if we wanted to be more precise, we need to take a lot more time and dig one country by one country into much thinner geographic levels. So what I'm saying is relatively basic, and this is what I started a few weeks ago, only with people in France, in this same hackathon, but version 3. And I am French, so we started it with France, but it could be done anywhere. We found mortality data at city level and a lot of potential explanatory factors, of course, age, smoking, drinking, alcohol, etc. And what we found really is that you see this map here, it doesn't look at all as what people usually know. I'm going to explain. Usually people have maps by departments, and it's not the same as this where you have the map by city in details, and you see that people in Paris enjoy lower mortality rates, for example, whereas people in Lille do not enjoy this low mortality rate. I have started to ask people around me if they wanted to participate, and I think this project could become a sort of worldwide, endless hackathon for any students in data science or environmental sciences or health sciences or especially public health or many other topics or even communication. And I was able for now to have two organizations support it, Epidemiums, as I described, and International Longevity Alliance, which is a sort of network of organizations interested in longer healthy lives and the underlying science. And since the beginning of the week, I have other associations, and I have contacted my own professors. So here, I think there is something that would be interesting. It is to continue this work, and I'm happy with the people who are doing this to make a board and to have it fully free. It's free data. There is no patent, and there is the force of open data. So everything we do is based on a lot of people behind in terms of data. It's visible. People can check it, double check it. We put everything, all the code on GitHub. The data is open data. And so we can demonstrate to people that perhaps you should relocate to Paris, or perhaps the government should do something against what is happening. But first, we need to understand why there is such a difference. And so I think it could be a good lever, something for the health of everyone around the world if we show this. So that's basically what I wanted to show, because then it goes into details in terms of statistics, in terms of how to measure what matters for health in good or bad terms. Well, the project is in itself large and complex, and I think that I wanted to push it to let you know that it exists, and that if you ever have connections with universities, I think of universities because it's a good topic for students, or even companies who want to have their employees participate in the Data for Good hackathon, right? They could participate in it. So I'm open to your questions. Yeah, don't hesitate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentations. Actually, World Talent Economy Forum, we are working with International Longevity Alliance. So health is very important, and longevity research also important. So that's why my friend actually today's joined. So I encourage from our speakers, if you have any questions for our uh, friends, Mr. Edward, Mr. Marshall, or Professor David Smith, or
I love his approach on it. Some of the necessary things we need to do, and data is the key to being able to make advances like what he was describing.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything you want to add, Mr. Edward? You want to add any point?
Yes. If you want, your the people in universities or institutions to join, the website is called opendataforhealth.org. opendataforhealth.org, and there you will see there is a LinkedIn group, a Facebook group, etc. Metaverse group, so anyone is welcome to join. There is no deadline; anyone can participate, whatever your skills. And I think the whole world can take lessons from the whole world for health. So it's a feedback loop on humanity, for humanity. So I think it's important, and we will both appreciate, which have started to show in 2015 that it's feasible, the link between mortality and main big risks, and also locally in every places, what seems that should be done, should be adjusted. So I think it's guided by data. How to improve health by being guided by data, in order not to spend time on useless aspects, perhaps, and be guided by the main big aspects in general and very locally everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you. I directly want to go for the discussions on augmented reality. Mr. Marshalls, some of the basic question, if you just help and differentiate augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality.
So, augmented reality, as I stated in my opening remarks, is technology that allows us to look at real world situations, but using computer technology to get sensory data and information about what's going on in a location or a potential location. Virtual reality is not associated with augmented reality or a reality of a location. It's something that like gamers use to determine that they're on a battlefield that really doesn't exist, or they're in some pathway to obtain some type of a win of a cup or something like that. And it's more like gaming technology. I'm sure that virtual reality is used in other capacities as well. But we find that augmented reality is the technology that is ideal for us because we're able to take a look at real world situations, such as where there is waste streaming into a system that's going to be thermally converted into a material known as biochar. And the temperatures are hot. They're at least 600 degrees C. And having a augmented reality gives us a sense of what the conditions in which the operator is working in. And we also have other aspects of it. And of course, there's nothing like being there physically. But what's good about augmented reality, it also gives us kind of what Edward was talking about from a health perspective. It gives us data. And the more data that we have and we collect and we can sort using big data applications around different locations of this type of technology, the better information we have in which to manage waste and convert it into lowering environmental impacts. And that's basically how it differentiates for us. I'm sure for other people on this panel, they use augmented reality differently than we do, but it's something that is practical for us and gives us the benefit of training people, as I said before, but also giving us real world sensibility of what's going on real time, but at the same time collecting data on the back end, like the health data that Edward is talking about, that allows us to get a sense of trend and analysis going forward.
Thank you. Professor David J. Kelly, what do you think? Some people say that this augmented reality, virtual reality, only for entertainment. What do you think? Is for entertainment or it's for serious business?
Well, I have one comment first. that in some cases, augmented reality and virtual reality is fundamentally the same hardware. If you take a look at like HoloLens versus the AR or VR platforms that a lot of the Microsoft partners are using, it's the same fundamental camera system and projector system. It's just one is see-through and the other isn't, and you use it for different things. Now, as to gaming and entertainment, I think the application of AR has a lot wider application than just VR does. VR is more used for gaming. Not that it's always used for gaming. I've seen it use cases where it's used for education, where it's used for remote analysis between multiple people and all of that kind of thing. But VR, a lot of AR hardware can do the job of VR, where it's used for gaming or whatever. But it also has a lot more production or non-entertainment application, whether it's in medical science or there's the scenarios where you're using AR to show someone how to do a job as they're doing it, kind of scenarios that just don't roll over to a VR environment as easily. So it's in my opinion, I've seen it used for both technologies used for both entertainment and business or other various technical use cases.
Professor David Smith, what do you think? Like this kind of technology, it will be expensive for developing world, or what do you think? Like, what will be the future of this virtual reality and augmented reality, and how the developing nations can get more benefit from this kind of technology?
To me, augmented reality is a perfect application developing nations. It really helps you merge the physical world and the digital world in a way that seems more natural. With virtual reality, we have some challenges. I can tell you, I still have bruises on my legs and arms from being in virtual reality environments and not knowing what's around you. And I hate to tell you, I've actually hit people in the face in a virtual reality session because you don't know they're there. Where augmented reality,
True.
really, and David, you're laughing because we've both done it.
Yeah.
Augmented reality actually blends the physical world with what's around you with the virtual world. And with that there, it has so many applications that it's there. Now, you see there's augmented reality, there's virtual reality, and there's something called MR, which is really the mix element where you combine AR and VR so that the digital elements themselves can interact with the real world. And, Magic Leap and HoloLens are great examples of MR where you can learn how to fix things. You see MR being used in places where, for example, on an oil rig, where if you have a fire or something on the oil rig, you can go in there with an MR helmet and actually know where the gauges are and things like that in an environment where you don't have vision, and can use it in an area like that. So there's a lot of places like that where it's really there. But I would begin to say that many of us got some of our first taste of AR technology with our kids, or maybe us playing Pokemon Go, because Pokemon Go really was an augmented reality game. And it's really there being pushed and going forward with that. The other type of things, though, in there is you're seeing some of the future trends where it's really beginning to take off. You're seeing the introduction of AI now into the augmented reality space. You're seeing avatars, AR avatars being used a lot more. Some of them are fictional, some of them are there. We're using AR avatars in one of our social emotional learning applications in my company today. You're seeing vehicles, as I said before, getting the power of AR, particularly as autonomous vehicles are becoming more common as we're going down that technology trend. You're going to see it. And it's going to define the way people move with AR, voice assistance, and more. We were talking about 5G and Internet of Things yesterday. You're going to see augmented reality really be impacted by a 5G network and things as you can begin to connect the digital better in real time. And as we move more of augmented reality to the edge of cloud applications, you're going to see that. And really, the last couple of places it's going to go is we're seeing a lot of advances coming out in the hardware around AR. We're seeing enhanced resolution. We're seeing better interaction with the real world. We're seeing other sensors combined with augmented reality to help us understand. One inside the military environment, in some of the AR lenses, we're seeing things like LiDAR, thermal imaging, and other things being combined with the AR glasses to be able to have an impact there. And we're seeing it in healthcare, like I mentioned earlier, and we're also beginning to see it a lot as a personal assistant, where we do not know how to do some of the things. And David's main comment that mixed reality is really AR, and it is, but I'm seeing some of the mixed reality being slightly different as you begin to augment it with these other sensors, as you begin to augment it with the other elements to create a more complete environment around you. I am tremendously impressed with the speed of maturity we see going through in augmented reality. And because of how fast it's maturing on its own, Sharif, it really has lowered the bar for introducing it into developing nations. Since a lot of augmented reality is using smartphones as one of the vehicles as part of that, it's really lowered the bar for putting it into education in both not only universities but even into K through 12 education and seeing it used there. So in developing nations, it's a tool that can be used many places. And one of the benefits of augmented reality in education is I can transport students to places without having to physically move the students. When you go to Pompeii and to look at the stuff there, Pompeii has produced an excellent augmented reality session there where you as a tourist can be taken back through everything that happened in Pompeii and see what it was before and after. And that type of augmented reality is coming up. So it has applicability in many different verticals, has applicability at the government level, in academia, and in the commercial level. And so it's very, very widespread.
Thank you. Professor David Kelly, you want to add any points? I think.
I mean, my own point was just technical, and David mentioned that there is no case that I know of where mixed reality is not AR. I mean, because AR is anytime you include any kind of content in overlaid the real world, from tactile to smell to sound to visual content. And a good 10 years ago, I was fighting with Microsoft engineering team over the use of mixed reality because you're just confusing people with it.
It does.
And when it really, from my standpoint, it's the same thing. I've never heard of a case of mixed reality that isn't AR.
Okay. Okay. Professor Donald, there are few questions. I think already our speaker they response in different questions. So you join. So that's why you can respond on Nur Fazrin. How the augmented reality different from virtual reality? I'm sure that our speakers already touched this point, but Professor Donald, you can if you wish you can add. And another thing, what problems can augmented reality solve in real life? Can you unmute, please?
Well, as you said, I'm sure everybody mentioned that augmented reality is when you overlay reality, overlay something. So Pokemon Go is a great example of augmented reality where you have little Pokemons pop up everywhere around you, just kind of as if they exist in the universe, exist in the world outside of you. In in a way, hearing aids are augmented reality, because they change your perception of the sound around you. Glasses are augmented reality. They're not. They're sort of a low tech version of them. But I was looking at geocaching last night, and when you think of your view of the world or your understanding of and you overlay a map onto the physical world that you're on in your mind, when you can see a map, when you're looking at Google Maps and you can see the street in front of you on your phone, and you can know which way to turn, and you can see it overlays the reality. That's augmented reality too. Virtual reality is when you're completely immersed in something, so that you're detached from the particular world from the external world. I mean, the real world that you normally live in. So, what problems can it solve in real life? I'm sure other people mentioned it, but one really cool thing that I've seen done with augmented reality is that I worked with a company once that went into construction sites as they built places, and every time they changed anything, they'd photograph it or video it, and they kept doing that. And so at first there's just beams, and then they put wires in, and then they put pipes in, and then they covered the walls with sheetrock, and then they painted it, and then they put the lighting fixtures in, or whatever order that they managed to do it. And then all that stuff that was inside the wall is buried and you can't see it anymore. But with this augmented reality, they put on these augmented reality glasses, and they could see what was in the wall before. So if they wanted to do some repairs, where they wanted to go in and change something, there's always a danger if you cut in the wall, you're going to cut a pipe, or you're going to cut a wire or something that's sitting there in the wall and you don't know where it is. You want to hang a picture. You'd really rather be able to nail a nail into a beam than a just open space with just sheetrock. And you just put on these glasses and you can see right where the beam is and nail it right in. So that's an example of one example. They can use it with medical. They do models of a person's heart, so that they can see exactly what the heart looks like with these glasses when they're actually doing surgery on them. All kinds of cool things. So that's some examples of real life things.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Marshall. There are some other questions from audience I want to take. Mahdi, what happens if I do not have a headset for VR or AR?
Well, I think that's an important question. Obviously, not everybody has everything that's required to be able to deploy. I mean, if you don't have a computer system, it's going to be a problem. you don't have the headsets, it limits you. I like the fact that it was mentioned that the glasses I'm wearing that Donald talked about are actually primitive AR technology. I'm not at the stage in life where I need a hearing aid yet, but you never know, maybe coming down the pike. So every form of technology or even primitive glasses are a form of augmenting your senses. That's what we're talking about here. It's for humans to augment their sensory perceptions, smell, taste, vision, hearing, touch, tactile. All that is important. Obviously, as we advance, there are several things that I think needs to be touched upon that is tangent to this question. And that is, if we're talking, as Donald mentioned, that there's going to be advances in medicine where you're modeling a heart or you're going to actually do surgery through augmented reality. That requires some other components, not just the technology like the computer systems and the headsets. A lot of them exist and surgery can be done, and it is being done to a limited extent. The issue that was talked about yesterday's forum was about 5G connectivity, and 5G is obviously much faster and greater resiliency to latency times on the internet and over online. So I think in order to do surgery similar to what people are doing remotely, the best practice currently is not that a surgeon performs a surgeon through augmented reality, but uses augmented reality to advise a surgeon who is on the spot to perform surgery. And maybe the surgeon who's advising them through augmented surgery has lots of experience in that type of particular surgery, whether it's a triple bypass or it's a neurological stent that's going into the brain. Whatever that's being done, you can, and again, it goes back to the issue of augmented reality used for monitoring and used to help train individuals in the real world of what's going on. So I think it kind of answers the question that as we see more latency reduction through connectivity, as more 5G is deployed and it becomes more adopted and more commonplace, I think we're going to see a shift from this type of augmented reality towards where people will actually be able to perform surgery remotely. But I don't see that happening sooner rather than later. And the reason is not because of the technology, but it's because of the insurance premiums that doctors would have to pay in the event that something went wrong. And doctors have enough insurance premiums that they have for malpractice. So that would probably be the big issue more than the technology itself and the deployment of it.
Thank you. Professor David Kelly, Onika actually want to know the future. I want to focus that how it create opportunity for the youth, especially in the job market.
Well, how it creates opportunity is there's more stuff that you can do. I mean, if you can get any kind of development environment, you can do development, whether it's simple AR like Pokemon Go on a phone, or if you have access to VR equipment you can use, and a lot of that, like in Windows, if you can get just a cheap VR headset, you can do HoloLens development because it's fundamentally the same hardware. Just it's much cheaper to get the VR equipment than buy a HoloLens. And it's an opportunity that's going to just grow. If you learn to do development, whether it's if you learn to do any kind of engineering with it, there's just going to be more and more opportunities, whether it's here in any other developing economy.
Thank you, Professor David Smith. Yes, there is a comment from Mahdi. Yes, okay.
I agree with a lot of, looking over in the comments, what's being said there. technology can be a blessing and a curse as well, because there's places where you have to stay educated to be able to stay up and use some of the latest technology. There's places where hardware limitations come in and see that. We see that, for example, with upgrading between versions of iOS or Android on our smartphones. We see it on PCs as we go through generations of Windows. We see it on on Apple computers as we go through their generations, where as we add more features, functionality, it does cause some things not to work. So it's there. But all in all, when I look at whether technology is a blessing or not, it's enabled us. Sharif, I often use the example that we began farming using sticks and rocks.
Mhm.
And if we continue to use sticks and rocks today, we could not feed the world. So we've used technology very effectively as we've looked at how to feed the world and as we begin to do things. There was a time when if I was in the United States and something happened in the Pacific Rim, in the Indian area, I wouldn't know about it for days. Today, I can know about something happening there in real time and see it unfold. And it's technology that's let us do that. We've seen technology being used in so many different areas uh, and being used very rapidly, particularly during the last 100 years or so. The technology curve has been very steep and has, in most instances, brought a much greater quality of life and has helped our average life expectancy go up. So, a lot of very good places where we see that. But the other places is uh, I believe as you begin to look at where particularly augmented reality can impact and solve problems in the real world, I believe it has high potential. I can tell you, most of us now have gone to the point where if we want to fix something on our car, if we want to fix an appliance or something, we begin to use the internet and we'll search for it. We'll either Google it, DuckDuckGo it, or whatever, and we'll find online tutorials. And see, the next step to those online tutorials is to take those tutorials, combine it with artificial reality, where I can see my appliance as they're walking through me how to fix it. I can see my car as they're walking me through how to fix it. And I can begin to do that in a way to augment my human capability. And artificial intelligence combined with augmented reality is a great way to begin to augment my human intelligence to be able to do more things faster than I could before. It's a great way to extend my education without me having to go back and learn all these other skills for something I might use just a few times. So I think that's some of the places, Sharif, to answer your question.
Thank you, Professor Donald.
Um, oops, let me. Yep. Hey, I'm muted. Um, well, one thing that augment means to add something to make it better, and so we could look at the most highest tech possible solutions, and we can look at little solutions. And as I pointed out before, glasses are augmenting your reality on the simplest end. And so there's a question of what can you do without expensive glasses. Well, remember there's the Google things that you can just put on your phone that are just cardboard boxes that allow you to be able to see three-dimensional, use them as 3D devices that don't cost anything that you can get. So there's quite a bit that you can do with just pretty low tech stuff. And Pokemon Go is, of course, just using your phone. The UI, a UI, as Doug Engelbart, when he developed the UI, his whole idea was to come up with a way of augmenting reality making the computer accessible. And he came up with the idea of multiple UIs. He didn't really think of having one UI. He thought of having different UIs for different purposes so that you could augment human intelligence and make people be more. That was what Doug told me. And so anyway, what I'm saying is that if you look around you, wherever you are, whether you're in a developing nation or in a developed nation, there's problems all around you that people have that need to be solved. And if you're aware of what's going on and you listen and just be in your own life and think of ways that you can do things, find things that you can do more easily or more fun or more enjoyably or any way like that, you have the tools to be able to do it, because you can just use JavaScript on your web browsers to make incredible programs now. It's mind-blowing what you can do, and you have the tools to make pretty amazing augmented reality stuff right now. Use Rust. You can write kind of operating systems on your phone without, it doesn't require a lot to learn. So, and as I keep saying, that the most important thing is to try and understand other people and what people need. And so don't just study the technology. Try and spend a little bit of time trying to understand other people and other people's needs and other people's emotions, and how what you could do could make other people's lives better in some way. And I think that's the important thing to do. So that's always my message.
Thank you. This is really great discussions, and if our speakers, we want to arrange some debate, allow us. So next week Thursday, we want to arrange a debate like it, definitely like Oxford Union model. If we get 4 speakers at least from like today's 4 speakers, you can join, and definitely topic based on Industry 4.0. Maybe we can do debate on artificial intelligence or any other topic. Why we want to do debate? Because like we are human. Thesis and antithesis create synthesis. So someone come with some logical argument, some come with a different ideology. It actually helps for develop our youth communities. And technology is very, very important for all of our developments. And now we are part of technological improvement. So World Talent Economy Forum always, we work as an advocate for modern science, engineering, and technology. So those who are actually changing the world through their innovation, always I want to welcome them in World Talent Economy Forum. And beside that, in January, actually, we already discussed with Mr. David Kelly with AGI Lab, as well as on the other hand, we discussed in Malaysia, International Islamic University. They want to send one of their best debater from International Islamic University. And yes, they are world champions. They are Oxford Ivy and Cambridge Ivy champion. On the other hand, I'm sure David Kelly has some very great innovation in AI. Through this process, we can understand how actually human and modern technology can interact, and we can develop this our knowledge and everything. And beside that, World Talent Economy Forum, we are interacting with all of the Muslim countries. Like we will arrange some other summit on Islamic finance. We are working with the Islamic finance, and we want to provide a new solution through the ethical financing process. So those who are interested to join in our research team, they can join in our research team. Beside that, we are working with UN for some other innovations. So we always want to welcome researchers, corporate, and intellectual people like you. And yes, World Talent Economy Forum always have different kind of case study and challenges. It's a real life challenge, real life corporations. Recently, we are working with aviation industries. Uh, so hopefully, any of you want to engage in our team and want to solve the critical problem in the industry, you can. And from our audience, those who observing our shows, I request please share our content with government, with corporation, and with academy. Our actually audience level is very small. We do not have millions of people. But I'm very happy our audience is highly educated group of people from different countries, especially from Asia Pacific, government, academy, and corporations. And yes, they start to supporting us and they are welcoming World Talent Economy Forums in their country. And definitely in the future, I want to welcome all of our speakers in offline in Asia Pacific. Maybe we can arrange a summit in Singapore or in Malaysia and other countries, and hopefully through this process it will be very good networking, and it will be very helpful for our community. So I directly want to go for the concluding remarks. First of all, I would like to give thanks to all of our speakers for joining today's sessions. Mr. Marshall, what's your concluding remarks and what you want to do for this developing world?
Excellent question, Sharif. From our perspective, we believe that AR has, as David, both Davids have talked about, and so has Donald, tremendous offsetting of quality of life issues. I mentioned the issue of medicine, but in our position, we're using it to help convert waste into a circular economy type approach to waste, in which waste is no longer waste, but it becomes a feedstock or a supply chain to lowering environmental impacts, such as improving water quality, soil health, or lowering GHG emissions. So we see a practical use of AR. As we move forward, we will be implementing more of it. Of course, the technology will advance. So it's kind of like having your latest iMac or your latest PC. You always have to upgrade it, and that we have to look for towards that. As one of the questions was, well, what happens if you don't have this piece of equipment? So you will be limited if you don't have it, but an investment is important to have made into that capacity, and it will only improve the outputs and we also think it will help people, planet, and profits. It will generate a better return on investment if it's used properly and deployed properly. Not that there's any guarantee of that happening, but it's up to us to make it happen. So I think it's like anything else. It's a technology that has a place and role in the world, especially in developing world countries, because those countries have a lot of waste. They don't know what to do with it. By training people what to do with it and how to handle it and what to make of it in terms of what I call an environmental benefit and improve the quality of life of those people in that country or in that location is going to be beneficial, and augmented reality has a role to play in that, if not now, soon. So again, everybody has to be educated, but again, we can use augmented reality for educating people through remote connections, and especially in today's world of the variants of the COVID-19 and who knows what else is coming down the pike. We are now all aware of zoonotic diseases and how they affect our economies and how they affect people being fearful of getting together or not. So we need to be able to use these technologies to help us advance and so that humanity is in the driver's seat and not the zoonotic diseases. So that's my take.
Thank you, Professor David Kelly. What's your concluding remarks and what you want to solve for developing world?
Well, I think probably the most important thing for me is just getting people learning how to use the technology. And I think for students, one of the things they can do, even in the developing world, is a lot of these companies like HP and Microsoft and so Google, they put a lot of free developer conferences on and hackathons and that sort of thing. And I know that because I've been hired by Microsoft a number of times doing hackathons in like India, and I did one in the Philippines once. And one of the cool things is those big companies will give us a lot of hardware. I know one conference I taught engineering at for augmented reality. We gave away probably 28 headsets to students in the Philippines and India so they could do their own development with those technologies. And I think, getting involved with those the developer communities, and going to user groups and these corporate sponsored events, you can get some of the hardware that you need to do basic development. It's the bigger issue, I think, for everyone is getting kids to learn it. And it doesn't matter where you're at, there's we need those people that can do engineering. And it's like here in the United States, one of the biggest reasons for outsourcing nowadays isn't that it is an issue. There just is not enough experts. And if we need to give them the hardware in some other countries so they can help us, we need the help. And that's why we do a lot of these things like hackathons and so forth to help people in any country engage with the technology, because we need you.
Thank you. Excellent idea. Even in Malaysia, if you want to do or organize a hackathon, definitely we have our 4 organization. One is World Talent Economy Forum. Another one is Al Noor Academy, Sarhadia Barhat. Another one is School of Talent Economy, where we provide any organization, we provide training. Another one is Asia Research and Development Academy. So these are the 4 organizations we are working, and we are happy that we are taking a lot of initiative. Let's say we are working with Nikola Tesla Technologies, and we are uh, helping and working with some of the excellent researcher from Asia Pacific. And any good idea, always World Talent Economy Forum open, and we want to take initiative. We want to take some action which will change the human life. And I'm very happy we have excellent team like all of our speakers, and I'm sure you people love to contribute. Professor David Smith, uh, how you can contribute? I know you are very passionate. Every day you join with us, and every day you are supporting. So you've always impressed our audience. And what next?
Sorry, I love the fact that augmented reality can level the playing field for many nations because of the various forms it takes. You do not have to have the highest resolution, the fastest processing thing to be able to use augmented reality to make a difference. So as a remark on that, I think it's there. One of the comments you had was the technology is a blessing and a curse. I also would like to make sure that there's a really bad vulnerability going around the internet right now, that particularly Sharif in your developing nations, that y'all stay aware of it and and its impact. There, and I will post some things over in the comments for you to help with that. But we need to make sure that as we work through the application of augmented reality, as we work through the applications of artificial intelligence, as we look through edge computing and Internet of Things, that we realize there's bad actors in the world and bad actors will try to disrupt what we're doing. So we have to stay vigilant as we use these. And there's a particularly bad one out right now that a lot of people use in their developments with Java. That's going to impact a lot of people. And particularly as we look at some of these advanced applications where that tends to be one of the libraries which is used often. But we need to understand that the maximum application of augmented reality is if we use it across the ecosystem. You know, we can use it in education, we can use it in commerce, we can use it in healthcare, we can use it in government, we can use it in the military, we can use it in automobiles, we can use it in airplanes, we can use it in manufacturing, we can use it so many places. That because it can be used so many places, it creates tremendous opportunities for particularly developing nations to find an application, develop them and deploy them to help meet their unique needs. Augmented reality can be used in a mass market, and augmented reality can be used in a very narrow, localized market to achieve goals and things that need to be done. So my concluding remark is dream about how it can be used to solve your everyday problems. Dream about how it can be used to address your challenges. And put an entrepreneur hat on, put a scientist hat on, and begin to look at how you can create a solution using it.
Thank you, Professor David Smith. Professor Donald, what you want to add? And I know you are a great researcher. Always you contribute for World Talent Economy Forum. And our objective right now, we want to develop an advanced level university. Yes, there are many university in Malaysia. Yes, Singapore University also one of the best, and other countries. But definitely, we want to develop something based on Industry 4.0, and we want to engage with more good research. We want to change more human lives. So all of your contribution will be very, very helpful for World Talent Economy Forum. Already we are discussing with largest corporations, governments. They start to provide the support to World Talent Economy Forum. Perhaps this will be one of the great initiative for everyone. And I want to invite all of our speakers in our core team. Hopefully your contribution and knowledge will be extremely valuable for developing world.
Great. I really want to echo what David said. When I was trying to learn social network analysis, I'm always at the cutting edge. It was so new that there was basically like no books on it. And so I found out there was a conference on it that had been going on for years and years. So I signed up for the conference and went down to Cancun to the conference. And at the conference, they had workshops that taught how to do social network analysis. And of course, it was a whole conference full of people that were experts at it. And it had little 20-minute presentations all day long for days. And I went to presentations and I met people in the halls and made friends and got connected to people that were involved in doing it. And because of that, I basically took off. I got to really start to understand it and make connections. And by a year or two later, I was one of the people giving the presentations at it and got to be co-author of a book on it and published in the Social Network Journal and things like that. And that was all just because I got connected to the ecosystem of people doing that. And so what David said about getting into the ecosystem of it and going to these hackathons and things like that, that's the way to do it, because you form an identity. You become one of those people that does that. That becomes who you are. And it's absolutely, it's available, it's cheap, it's critical, it's the way to go. And I want to echo what David said, which is that look everywhere for the problems that you can solve yourself. Just dream about it. because it's something that we were talking about yesterday, which is edge computing and 5G, and I want to really emphasize that your cell phone, your mobile device, is a 5G computing device of incredible power, and it's easily connected to like arrays of artificial intelligent deep learning systems. You can use Google's deep learning systems and Facebook's deep learning systems and quantum computing systems for free to do a certain amount of work. They make them available because they want people to be able to get tied to their particular system. So you can use TensorFlow on Google's system for free. So if you want to do that, you can actually develop systems yourself. And so the ability to do very, very sophisticated augmented reality exists if you have a cell phone. So the barriers are not that high to being able to do incredibly sophisticated things. The barrier is for you to be able to put together in your mind some problem that you can be able to solve by augmenting reality. And what somebody said, that it's everything is reality. I mean, what is reality? It's everything. It's reality is the chairs that you sit on, the air that you breathe, the conversations that you have, the work that you do, the things that you read and study, what you learn. All of that is your reality. And what part of that could you do better? What part of that could be easier? What part of that could be more efficient? The opportunities are just basically endless because it's all of reality. And it's a matter of you just dreaming. And then the thing about creativity is that if you really study creative people do a lot. They make a lot of mistakes. They try a lot of things. There's an American composer named Duke Ellington, who's one of the most, who's written some of the most wonderful, beautiful songs in America ever. And if you look into him, he wrote 3,000 songs. And probably 50 of his songs are the most iconic songs in America. Everyone has heard them. And that means he wrote 2,950 songs that are forgotten. And that's what creativity is about, is doing it. And having a shit detector, pardon my French, and being able to say, okay, I tried that. That isn't really going to fly. Because creativity has two parts. One part is being novel, and the other part is having the sense to know that that's something that people are going to care about. And so you have to, and you've got to try it. You've got to see, you've got to make a good guess and then try it. And so that's what you need to do. Put yourself in a place where you become a person who is able to try these things and then try them and do it, because it's everywhere. The problems that you can solve are everywhere. And that's what I say.
Thank you, everyone. This is really great discussions. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible. And thank you, everyone, Mr. Marshalls, Professor David J. Kelly, Professor David Smith, Professor Donald, for joining today's session. This is really great session. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.
Cheers.
Bye. Nice to see you all.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great time until next time I see you.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye,
Cheers.
guys.